Hello everyone. So on Thursday I went to see Merito Majo no Hana, or in English it's Mary and the Witch's Flower. And I have to say, this movie kinda was underwhelming to me. Now, I'm going to say this to just clear the air here. In terms of animation and character design, this movie was absolutely amazing. Even with the backgrounds, it was absolutely amazing. But the issues that I have are a little more than just in terms of animation and the character design. This video is not designed in any way to prevent you from watching it or to give a bad review about the movie. I just want to tell my opinions about the underlying issues that I had while watching this movie. See, it wasn't, I felt that the movie wasn't a waste of money, but it wasn't money well spent either, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give a review about this movie and what are the underlying issues that I had upon watching this movie. First, the introduction of the movie. So Mary and the Witch's Flower is about a young girl named Mary, and she finds a flower that blooms once every 7 years. This amazing flower gives her the powers of a witch for one day. Upon receiving the powers of the witch, she is transferred to another school, a school that focuses on magic and sorcery. However, the school is not exactly what it seems, and I'll probably leave it there in case anyone wants to watch the movie. So upon hearing the synopsis of this movie, I actually was quite interested in it because not only is it potentially a Studio Ghibli film, quote quote, moreover, Maho Shoujo or magical girls art is kind of a guilty pleasure of my own. So I was really interested to see this movie and how it worked. And how it worked was kind of a huge issue to me. I remember watching another video who did the exact same review, and I'll leave a link in the description below, that Mary and the Witch's Flower kinda had these elements of Kiki's Delivery Service and other Ghibli films in there, and I would have to agree with this statement. And I feel like with this movie, trying to identify with other Ghibli films was where I had the issues the most with the film. As bad as it seems, I feel like this movie had a lot of expectations with other Ghibli films since it's a Ghibli affiliated type of film. I mean, I kind of did, unfortunately, and I feel like that is also where the issue of this film comes along as well. While the animation, the character design, and the visuals were absolutely gorgeous, and I do not take it away from that film, I really couldn't touch in with the characters as much as I wanted to. Apart from the animation and the character design and the visuals, which are all gorgeous, and I don't take it away from the film, I couldn't get in touch with the characters as much as I had wanted to. In the first 30 minutes of the film, I feel like Mary's and the Witch's Flower was trying to replicate the first scenes from Kiki's Delivery Service, as you see this character development with every action that she does, which again is fine, but it kind of felt out of place in this movie to me. It was only until when she gets into the Witch's Academy, I found out that the first 30 minutes were to develop her character, which again is a little late for your audience to find out about what was the purpose of your scenes if you put them in there. I guess I'm following the lifelong lesson of my animation professor in production 2, where he always stated clarity is everything, or clarity wa subete dayo. Maybe. Anywho, just the fact that the first 30 minutes of this movie kind of remind me of Kiki's Delivery Service, that alone just made it feel like these 30 minutes were out of place. I mean, again, we do get to see the character develop, but well, I'll get to more of her character in a bit. And Peter was another character that I really couldn't relate to, even at the end of the film or even in its climax. You see, all I knew about Peter was that he was friends with Mary, kinda, or they had feelings for each other, kinda. And that's kind of an issue to me as well, because when stuff starts to happen to these characters, I have to ask myself, can I really relate to them enough to cheer them on or hope for their success? I mean, I would want their success anyway, but there is a underlying factor that's missing here, and which is my connection with the characters that are presented in the film. And then the grandmother kind of shocked me as well, because we rarely get to see her, and then she has this amazing secret. Again, I won't spoil it, just in case you haven't watched the movie. And I just felt that it was out of place, because like there wasn't really enough like information from the moment like she's introduced and the moment the climax happens. And then when you're in the middle of the climax, then the grandmother's secret is revealed, and you're just like, okay. Again, this doesn't make the movie terrible. And again, I am not trying to say that the movie is terrible. I'm just saying that this lack of character development kind of is what made the movie underwhelming for me. Not to say that I didn't enjoy it. Again, it was just, again, underwhelming. And speaking on the character development, I kind of want to go back to Mary for a second, because this is quite important to me. So I felt like the conclusion of the movie was like anticlimactical in a way, and it really didn't do Mary's character justice. So I'm gonna go back to Kiki's and the Delivery Service if Studio Pontiac wants to reference a Studio Ghibli film. I am always reminded by my animation professor for production 2, who gave me the following 2 rules. Clarity is everything, and you must have an inner conflict with the character. And I felt that Mary did have this inner conflict, or well, they tried to make it as if she had this inner conflict in the beginning, but throughout the film, I kind of felt that it was lacking, especially when we get into the climax. In Kiki's Delivery Service, we see this inner conflict throughout the film, which makes it great to watch because of the immense amount of character development that you see. And especially in the end, in which this is something that she must do for herself and no one else can. So she must break through her conflicts in order to save the day. With Mary and the Witch's Flower, I kind of felt like that was missing entirely. And that's the thing with Mary and the Witch's Flower, because you never really get to see her do it. Like, she did it with her friend, maybe, that we really don't know much about, but it really wasn't like something that she had to do. It wasn't that inner conflict of what she has to do. And I stress this because I did see a lot of Studio Ghibli elements in this movie, and I felt that because they put those Studio Ghibli elements, or tried to, within this movie, that it was missing just a little bit more for the story and the plot. Like, we never really get to know Peter, but only about the 2 things I have described earlier. And when his role comes into play, which becomes much larger, I just felt like the story is pushing the plot just for the sake of pushing the plot, which again is kind of not a bad thing, but just how it carried itself from the beginning of the movie up until this point kind of felt underwhelming to me. Just theoretically speaking, if we compare Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, and Princess Mononoke, we see these amazing female characters that really make the story work apart from the animation. And speaking on just the character development and the like, we didn't really get a chance to explore the magical world that she was delivered to. All we knew was about the broomkeeper, which is named Flanagan, and the teachers and maybe the background characters of this school, which again is kind of not a bad thing, but I really wish that we got to see more of this world, especially since it was so beautiful and mind-boggling to look at, that I wish they would have just expanded on that just a little bit. I understand for time constraints that you couldn't, but it's just something that I would have liked to see, and it really did affect how I perceived the film, because I didn't have any touch with the characters, and I don't even have any touch with the world that she's into. All we knew about this world was that there was a headmistress of a school, and she has a hidden plot than what Mary was told. And it's this disconnection with the characters, this connection with the world that we are in, is what kind of made the film underwhelming to me. Now let's take a look at Spirited Away and Chihiro. You know, we get to see this amazing world building as she's whisked away into this magical land of weird creatures and demons. You know, we got to see her character develop from beginning to end, but we also got to see the world that we were in. And what that did was that we got more in touch with all of this, that like not only was the animation good and the visuals were good, but because we knew the characters, because we knew the world, because we saw her transformation from beginning to end, it made the experience much more enjoyable. I guess kind of why Before Your Name, it was the highest grossing film in Japan. So case in point, is Mary and the Witch's Flower worth watching? Yes, apart from the lack of character development and lack of world building, which would have made the film just a better experience, I still think that the animation, the visuals, and pretty much everything else, even the sound, was really, really good. Is Studio Pontiac the next successor to Studio Ghibli? Not at all. They have a long way to go. But again, I am not discouraging you to not watch the film. I'm just telling you my opinions about the underlying factors that didn't make it as much of an experience as I would have liked.